I want you to think back. Think back to a time where you were like, you know, it'd be a good idea? Making a movie. I am gonna make a movie. And you know what that movie's gonna be about? It's gonna be about the apocalypse. Probably the zombie apocalypse. Well, it turns out that big budget studios have already come to the same idea, and every single movie in theaters is about the end of the world. Amusingly, one filmmaker has gone against the grain and has made a movie about optimism. That seems like the worst idea you could possibly have for a film. But anyways, it's been released by Disney. It's by director Brad Bird, and it's called Tomorrowland. Today on Effectively Informed, I'm going to let you know if a movie that is not about the end of the world is actually worth your time. So what is Tomorrowland about? Well, Tomorrowland, as I said, it's directed by Brad Bird, and it's his attempt to spit in the face of all the filmmakers who said, you know, I really only care about the fall of mankind. And that's what I want to focus my work on. I want to show how shitty things can be for humanity as a whole. So Brad Bird said, well, you know, I would take a more optimistic view on that and say that maybe humanity will pull through. And that movie is Tomorrowland. So the movie itself is about these two dreamers. George Clooney plays Frank and Britt Robertson plays Casey, who are not satisfied with the way the world is. And as it turns out, there's this place called Tomorrowland. People can go and they can dream big, they can build anything, they can do anything. However, there's one big problem. Tomorrowland has fallen into, I would say, complacency, and they're just fine with letting the world end. So the movie focuses on these two characters trying to break into Tomorrowland, shake up the status quo, and in the process, hopefully save Earth. So what did I like about the movie? Well, first of all, it had a really optimistic tone, which, as I've been saying, you know, you don't really see that in very many movies. Even in family movies, where of course there's going to be a happy ending, they just don't seem joyous in their optimism. This is a movie that really embraced the premise, you know, said, I want to make people feel like they can be more and they can do more. This really comes through in all of the characters' actions. You know, they all have this joy about life that they want to share with the world, and it is really infectious, and it's sort of inspiring to see. Now, I don't mean this movie is going to make you go out the next day and build a jetpack of your own or a zero-G swimming pool in the sky, but at the very least, you know, it shows you that we can still be inspired. We don't have to dwell on the past. We don't have to dwell on our own mistakes. Anyway, the point I got from the movie is that mankind's greatest achievements are not behind us. We have a lot to look forward to. The second thing I really liked about the movie was I thought all of the main characters did a really great job. We have Britt Robertson playing Casey, George Clooney playing Frank. We have Hugh Laurie, the curmudgeonly Dr. House, playing Governor Nix. He's the ruler of Tomorrowland. And we also have the young Raffi Cassidy playing Athena, who is I would kind of say a gatekeeper to Tomorrowland, who helps George Clooney and Britt on their path to get back into Tomorrowland. Now, I thought all of the actors had pretty great chemistry with each other. I especially want to call out George Clooney and, I can't just call him George. George Clooney and Raffi. That's a weird name to say by itself. Raffi? I should have looked this up. Raffi Cassidy. They had a very interesting dynamic. I haven't explored a lot of films because it'd be kind of creepy. Just so you know, she's like a preteen girl and he's a 50-something-year-old man. And they have a sort of love story. Anyways, they had pretty good chemistry, and they made something that could have potentially been super creepy kind of acceptable. I mean, it was acceptable in the film. And also Britt Robertson, going back to the theme of optimism, she's probably the most infectiously optimistic person I've seen on the screen in a long time. She has a pretty good back and forth with George during the course of the movie. I would watch them again in something else. I think that they could probably do a great job. Now, there were some things that I didn't really care for in the film. So the first of these is that the movie is about them trying to reach Tomorrowland. It doesn't primarily take place in Tomorrowland. And that's fine. I'm not going to fault the movie for being about something other than what I prefer it to be about. I don't think that's a fair way to judge a movie. However, I will say that when they actually reach Tomorrowland, a lot of the magic of the movie kind of leaves the picture. Now, I think this could be the director saying that the real magic in the world is on Earth. It's not in this mythical alternate dimension called Tomorrowland. I just kind of felt like Tomorrowland, when they actually get there, it honestly dragged the film down. Like, they ran out of creative ideas of what to show on the screen. And whether this was on purpose or not, it didn't really make for great film watching. Another thing I want to talk about is sometimes the movie, I felt, got a little goofy for its own good. Now, this is a Disney movie, it was rated PG, so a little bit of goofiness is to be expected. However, I think it could be very cloying for an older audience. Now, maybe I've just lost the joy of life and I can't appreciate moments like super speed running robots who are really badly animated, or gift shop attendants who are more than they seem. Now, I did like the way that all the evil robots had this creepy, creepy smile plastered to the face. Anyways, I just want to let you know that's in there. There is a little bit of goofiness. More than a little bit. A lot of goofiness. It's a Disney movie. It's goofy. Final thing I thought the movie lacked was a good villain. Hugh Laurie does an okay job of being a disillusioned bureaucrat, but he was not very fun to watch. I just didn't buy the villain's motivations. I don't know. I think a good protagonist needs a good antagonist, and that just wasn't the case here. Okay, so this next part, I'm going to talk about some specific things in the movie that I liked, so here come the spoilers. You have been warned. The first thing I want to talk about is, did anybody else think that George Clooney was going to kiss that little girl at the end of the movie? Like, they have this big romantic scene about how she's a robot, but she's learned how to love. Maybe if she wasn't a preteen who was dying, they might be able to make a go of it. I mean, she didn't say any of that, but I kind of got the impression that that's what she was thinking. She's like, I learned to love, Frank. I learned to love. Anyways, he was holding her in her arms. I thought he might go for like a kiss on the cheek. I'm glad he didn't, but I thought it might happen because I'm a huge creep. Second thing, why do all the robots explode when they die? That seems like a huge design flaw. You know, I'm just happy that when my computer stops working, it doesn't blow up. Great engineering, Tomorrowland. Next, Hugh Laurie's evil plan just did not make sense to me. I mean, I kind of got it. Like, he was sick of people being complacent, so he's like, fuck them, kill them all. But, really? So, from what I understand, he exiles Frank because Frank built a doomsday device that predicts the end of the world. And so he thinks, you know, maybe I could stop the apocalypse if I beam the idea of the apocalypse into everyone on Earth's mind. Maybe that will get them out of their funk. However, people are dumb and they're like, oh man, I love the apocalypse. So then he's like, well, they embrace the apocalypse. Fuck them. I don't know. I just wasn't crazy about this part of the movie. Also, earlier I talked about how things were kind of lame once they got to Tomorrowland, and I felt that especially came through with the robot fight at the end. Like, that was the big climactic set piece. That was the end of the movie, and they pinned the big fight scene on these two giant CGI robots, which looked kind of like, they reminded me of Betamax. Anyways, I just thought that the choreography, it kind of bored me. I did really like the fight scene in the house, though, when they're trying to escape Frank's house and get to Tomorrowland. They pretty much showed this entire scene in one of the trailers, and for good reason. I think it's probably the best part of the movie. Finally, last thing, I think Britt Robertson was robbed in the advertising for this film. Everything I've seen bills George Clooney as the protagonist of this movie. You know, top billed. Okay, he has some history in Hollywood, I think. I've heard of him before. However, I think that at the very least, she should have been billed as like the co-lead. Without either of them, I think the film would have fallen apart, and I think it does her a disservice to not be more prominently featured in the advertising. So those are my thoughts on Tomorrowland. Let me know if you think I got it wrong. Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe if you want to see more shit like this. Oh, and in case you're curious, yeah, my verdict, as I think I said in like the first 1 minute of this review, is that the film is worth watching. It's not a mind-blowing masterpiece, but it will keep you entertained, and hopefully it'll even inspire you. Until next time, this has been Elle with Effectively Informed.